Alan Staley and Neil Mackenzie have developed problem-based learning scenarios within an e-learning context for staff development at the University of Central England. They hope to develop these techniques further as use of their open-source VLE increases.
I think most universities have obtained a VLE and then people say, what are we going to do with it? The emphasis is on what, and then the technologists say how. But very few people say why.
We're not coming from a technology point of view. We're trying to use the technology in a sensible way and try and make these things useful. So the technology really has been a tool for us to implement, but try and implement some of the things that we really sort of do believe helps with the education process.
We do understand our pedagogy. We can demonstrate how online problem-based learning can work, and we can demonstrate how well online experiential learning can work. We are one of the last universities to implement a virtual learning environment, but we've now done that, and hopefully with the experience we've got, we can now catch up and indeed move ahead because we've got the foundations right. People here know why we're doing it and how to do it well, rather than just putting content in a VLE.
We used Mullock and the two problem-based scenarios that we're using at the moment very much to help academic staff with some of the drier subject areas really that they have to study on the PG Cert. For example, we set up a virtual validation meeting, and we've tried to make that process come alive, be interesting by giving it a sort of cartoon scenario, but still deliver some very, very fundamental messages.
I found the university simulations interesting because I can see, I've been there, I've seen those situations. They really reflect what it's actually like being in a university, having to deal with those sorts of problems. And then the ability to discuss it with other students who are also looking at the scenarios and to exchange feedback, which we do on the PG Cert through a product called Moodle. So we're able to add our comments in and feed off each other's comments. So it's a sort of collaborative learning approach, responding to the issues at Crumpton.
But for me it was good because I could print stuff off or take it away, read about it. I reflect quite a lot, so I could think about it and then come back and make a contribution, which obviously you can't do in a face-to-face session.
Some of the best learning that we've experienced on courses like this has happened via the discussion forums. You know, really, really sort of deep learning was going on in the discussion forums, which we were thrilled with, and staff seemed to respond to it.
Here at UCE, where we have about 23,000 students, most of them are campus-based, there's very little distance learning. We have to learn here how to mix the e-learning with the face-to-face classes and to get the blend right.
E-learning is changing practice in other ways as well. Paul Bartholomew uses video lectures in radiography in order to free up lecture time for problem-based practical activities.
Being a vocational course, being a professional course, where students were learning what they were learning to do a particular job and a task within a department, it seemed logical to try and practice to implement the knowledge and the information that they'd had in their student study time into problem-based learning within the individual sessions.
As a mature student with 3 small children, I had a safety net with that CD-ROM, in the fact that if I had problems with childcare or if one of them was ill, I knew that certainly for the clinical imaging, I didn't necessarily have to come to university to get the information. The information was already there.
The learning is much more active rather than passive, so as I said, you can go through exam questions, go through things that aren't covered in textbooks. And rather than lecture us, he'd hand it over to us and split us into groups, and we'd work through problems, and again we had the chance to bounce ideas off each other.
I do believe that we can improve the quality of teaching and learning with a VLE. I really believe that. But the hardest thing to work out now is what you do in class. I've read many times recently that the VLE is a Trojan horse. It's a Trojan horse that gets staff to think about how they teach, and it's really true. Because once you make this move into the e-learning bit, it definitely makes you think more about your face-to-face teaching.